What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to For The Fans with me and my co-host Ben. Coming up in today's show, we're going to be taking a look at another messy bailout as Argentina scraped past Iran 1-0. Nigeria beat Bosnia and Herzegovina in what was somewhat of a shock. Meanwhile, Germany could only muster up a 2-2 draw against Ghana. Once that's all done, we're going to be taking a glance forward to today's action and let you know what we think is going to be coming your way today. Let's get straight into this.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, or good night. How are you doing? It's the For The Fans podcast, joined with Jack.
Hi Ben, how are you doing?
I said joined with Jack again, but we'll just go with it today. Like, I did it the other day and we edited it, but why not?
He's an amateur, can't work with him.
We're going guestless again.
Yeah. Well, we were meant to have someone on, and then they were ill, and then we had a sideman, didn't we? Keno, you know who you are. We'll have him on later. He's not very well.
He made the intro to the podcast.
He did.
Not RTE Soccer. It was Keno.
So this was an hour before we were meant to record, so I'm thinking, oh gosh, we'll get someone else in. So I contact Paul, main man Paul, and he's helping his girlfriend move house. Which I don't think is a valid excuse, but we'll have to roll with it.
Maybe if you had a girlfriend, you'd see it as a valid excuse.
No.
Right. Shall we get straight into this?
That really hurt, bro.
Sorry, mate. Do you want to get into this, Jack?
I'm not sure if I can carry on.
Okay, well, I'm going to continue without you. Argentina played Iran, and for 90 minutes, Iran were pretty good. Until, that guy, that best player in the world, pops up.
I didn't know Ronaldo was Argentinian.
Good one, with a curling effort, and it makes it 1-0 Argentina. And the game is done, but that is not the whole story, is it, Jack? Kind
of is. It finished 1-0.
No. You've got to take part in this podcast just because I've insulted you early on.
You said you'd go on without me. No, Iran were really impressive. They actually defended very well against Nigeria, but they didn't create many opportunities. And Iran yesterday really impressed me because they created a lot of chances. The issue was they didn't take them, and when you're going to play counter-attacking against a team like Argentina, I mean, disregarding the penalty decision for a second, there were 3 chances that they really should take on a different day. And if you're going to play that kind of counter-attacking football, you're only going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 chances on a good day to win the game. And they just didn't take them.
Romero in goal was decent, though, actually. He was put under quite a lot of pressure because of... Argentina were they were controlling the game, so a lot of their players were forward, which gave the opportunity for Iran to counter at will, really. I don't think people expected that sort of performance out of Iran. I think they were just an unknown quantity coming into this tournament. They're not seen very often on a world stage, and they're showing that they can hang, which I like. I like the fact they defended really well until one moment where you think you can't let Messi do that exact thing he's just done. I'm hoping they do something. I really want them to do something.
The problem for Iran was that they sat deeper and deeper. Me and you talked a little bit on Twitter about kind of how Bosnia and Iran kind of defended slightly differently, because Bosnia they didn't sit deep, but they certainly played a little bit more defensively than they normally would. And they kind of gave Messi the space, but then would close him down. Whereas Iran's game plan was a lot more a case of get men behind the ball. We'll stop Messi from having that space to begin with. So we're not always chasing after him to close him down. And what ends up happening on that last-minute goal, of course, Messi bending it in from outside the area, is they've fallen so deep that they're saying, you can have that space there. But the issue is that the striker for Iran is the one closing him down on the edge of your own 18-yard box. What they did, just sat too deep, and it's cost them. And it's a real shame, because up until that point, I don't want to say they were flawless defensively, but Carlos Queiroz' boys were very, very well set up and were incredibly... I think anyone watching that game would say they probably deserved to get something from that game.
They did defend very well, but did they deserve a penalty? Did they deserve more out of the game? Should they have won the game, Jack, is what I'm asking you. Was the penalty a penalty?
I think it was. And I know someone's going to go, well, Zabaleta got the ball. The issue we've got here is he's stroked the ball with his foot. He's not kicked it, he's stroked it. It's pretty much rolled over his foot. And I think the Iranian player, I can't remember his name, I think it was the one who played for Fulham, I want to say, begins with a D. Apologies for not knowing his name. But I think he was actually going to get on the end of it before he gets absolutely crunched as Zabaleta swings a leg and just misses.
Do you mean the Fulham Hall of Famer, De Jager?
Yes. I think it was him. I'm pretty sure it was him. Don't quote me on it.
I thought it was really interesting how, so we had a little chat about Iran. I thought Argentina were really interesting in how they set up, because we mentioned before the game that Higuain was going to start, and I thought they'd drop Aguero, but no. They played Aguero and Higuain up top, Messi just behind, and then they dropped Di Maria, who I thought would play in that like front three, like a 4-3-3 formation, but instead they almost played a diamond.
Yeah.
They played Mascherano sitting, Gargo on the left, kind of, and then they had kind of Di Maria and Zabaleta giving them some width on the right hand side, which I thought was a brave decision considering that they are struggling to break teams down, and they still decided to just pack the middle.
Yeah.
It didn't really work. And within about 70 minutes, I think they took off Aguero and Higuain and brought on Palacio and Lavezzi, who, again, tried to create a bit more width. Didn't really have much of an impact. That said, the goal does come from the ball being in a wide area. Messi has a bit more space in the middle, works some room, and then bends one.
The issue with that Messi goal is you always get shown to kind of show a player outside, especially Messi. Show him onto his weaker foot. Don't let him cut inside. And it's kind of that momentary lapse which has cost Iran. But Iran really did impress me. They really limited Argentina's chances. Argentina dominated the play. They had so much of it. But Iran, to say that they had the fewest amount of passes since 1966, last game, 130 of them, which in the first 10 minutes they had 4 passes on target.
Wow.
They played well. You wouldn't think that was the case looking at the game. When you think about the chances that were created, yes, Argentina and Messi, more specifically, had more of the ball and were more pressing. But Iran probably had the better chances. And on a different day, as we've already said, they probably should win.
It's going to be really interesting to me to see how other teams play against Argentina and how Argentina will adapt to play against the better sides. Because Argentina are through now. They're into the last 16. And I do wonder if they'll continue to stay that open. I thought Rojo had a good game, their left back. He was involved in a lot of the play down the left hand side. Didn't really do much with it, but I like to see a young player used in that capacity.
Yeah. Does he play for Sporting Lisbon?
He plays in Portugal.
Yeah.
You may well be right when you say Sporting.
I'm pretty sure he's played at centre back in the past, so I kind of was a little bit surprised when I saw him playing out on the left.
Yeah,
but so far he's established himself
play.
there. He doesn't look out of place there. And I know what you were saying. He didn't have a massive impact on the game, but he always was open and always looked willing to move with the play and really make himself open.
Yeah, they needed width on that left side. As I say, Gago played a little bit more on the inside with Mascherano, so they didn't really have natural width on the left. And they kind of had Aguero cutting in, but as I say, they were really playing two up top. Argentina come away with a victory. Elsewhere in that group, late last night, it was Nigeria versus Bosnia. Both sides needing a win. Because Nigeria obviously drew with Iran and were very disappointing in many people's eyes. And Bosnia, while they did a decent game out against Argentina, didn't really penetrate. Wow. Bosnia did not turn up. And I'm really disappointed. Well, really, really disappointed.
We need to apologise to anyone who's Nigerian, because we pretty much said this group, Bosnia and Argentina are going to be kind of the two teams going through this group. And I think the fact they played each other in the first game has probably hurt Bosnia somewhat. But they really didn't turn up. Nigeria just looked sharper. They looked faster. Emenike up front on his own looked superb. But he kind of established the weak link, which was Spahic in Bosnia's defence, who incidentally I have in my fantasy football team.
Yeah, you do.
If I knew he was as slow as he was yesterday, I wouldn't have been picking him. But Emenike had a field day.
He did. They also brought in Odon Wingy. We mentioned it on yesterday's show that he was likely to play. He did play, so we got it spot on, as did Joseph Yobo. So, we've got all bases covered. And he was the man to open the scoring. The Super Eagles. I like the way. Do you like that name as a nickname?
I love the Super Eagles, but I do prefer Japan's name of the Blue Samurais.
Oh, okay. Well, it was Emenike that went down the line, was it not? Cut it back to Odon Wingy, who then slots past Stoke teammate Asmir Begovic.
Yeah.
But Dzeko, let's not forget, Jack. Dzeko had a goal ruled out.
That was BS.
You're happy?
He's in my fantasy football team, so I have a right to be angry. He is through. He is through. It's not that close, really. I know that they were saying, it took a few replays to decide whether it was off or not. When they actually pause at the moment the ball's passed, the linesman is in line, he's miles onside. It's not even close.
Who was the other person in the studio? It was Kian and someone else. I can't think who it was now. That's awful. But they were saying, whoever it may be, this mystery. Oh, it's Phil Neville. That's why it's so forgettable. It was Phil Neville. And he was saying that he could kind of understand the linesman decision because Dzeko has stood quite still. I think it's Yobo playing him on side. But it's Yobo's legs. So the body shape of Yobo is in line with Dzeko. And so when they bring up that line, his legs are stuck out quite far, so it looks like he's way onside. But in reality, it's not a really easy spot because one, he's wearing green. I don't think we should forget the camouflage techniques that Nigeria are using.
Is that tactical then? Is that what you're claiming?
Yes, I am. But as we mentioned, Bosnia, very disappointing. The dark horses of many. As we mentioned, as you said, we expected Bosnia and Argentina to be the teams to get out of this group. It just didn't happen. Payet was probably their standout man. Even then, hasn't had the impact a lot of people expected from him, which is really disappointing. Dzeko was an absolute star in the qualifying. I'm not sure who they had in their group, but it must have been.
We discussed this in the preview show.
It now looks like it was quite easy.
We discussed this in the preview show, and I said that I think their group made them look good, and then I kind of was like, actually, maybe what Ben's saying's right. So I kind of hopped on the Bosnia bandwagon that he'd created.
You did,
Now I feel like quite silly. I think this was a ploy to get me to fail in fantasy football.
Well, you picked
personally.
2 Bosnian players, and they are out, Jack. They are they're the first team out.
Well,
even Iran are still in.
Dzeko was my first pick, so what does that tell you?
I know. Well, if Iran beat Bosnia and Argentina hammer Nigeria, it's not over for the Iranians.
I really want to see Iran do well. I think that'd be quite good to see them get far. But as you mentioned, there is the kind of circumstances, as with pretty much every World Cup group, that have to go very specific ways for them to have a chance.
So, Nigeria, the Super Eagles, I'm not calling them Nigeria anymore. I'm going to refer to them as the Super Eagles all the time. The Super Eagles are putting themselves in a very good chance of going through. Another side that are back in contention,
they're soaring
potentially, it's the final game of yesterday, which was Ghana 2, Germany 2. What a game. What a second half.
Probably the best game of the World Cup.
Did you watch the first half?
I did. The first half was slow, but I think the second half was just so end-to-end. Like, I know you hear about end-to-end matches and open matches. If you want to know what an open game is, show people that game, because it was just crazy. I thought Ghana at 2-1 up were there, and then there were so many chances they had that didn't kind of go their way. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Where do you want to kick off this game?
Well, Jack, I actually missed the first half, and as you know, I've missed 2 games and a half now in the World Cup tournament.
It's not good enough.
But what have they all got in common?
They've all been 0-0 at that point.
They have. And I tweeted, don't worry, folks, I've ordered a couple of goals. And then bang, bang. Within 20 minutes, 4 goals have been scored, and I'm the Messiah. But as you mentioned, I did watch the highlights back. There wasn't many of the first half, I've got to be honest.
It was very forgettable.
Kevin Prince Boateng, who did start the game with his mate Michelesian, another thing we predicted yesterday on the show, didn't have an impact whatsoever. Ghana didn't look good with him, didn't look comfortable with him. Brought on Andre Ayew. Brought Jordan Ayew on.
The Ayew brothers just confused me. Just call them Ayew. Just call them Ayew. Just hope you're referring to one or the other.
Anyway, so Goats have got things started with a lovely little finish.
You say a lovely little finish. He headed it onto his kneecap.
Yeah, but
it was like watching me play football. I've got to be honest. Bending over, hunched over, just kneeing it and closing my eyes as the ball's coming towards me and heading my knee.
It wasn't the only moment of hilarity to do with that sort of thing. Did you see what Neuer did?
I did. What was that?
In the World Cup, when he's throwing it out, really badly throwing it out,
and then
hits
kicks
his left arm as it flicks up, and then he's just like, "Yeah, and what?" And then boots it, and I'm just like, "Oh God." I don't really like Neuer because I think he's a bit of a Thomas Muller character, like a bit of an arrogant sod. But I did enjoy that moment. I thought, "Oh God, it's like being at the circus." So yeah, Goats have got it started with an absolute belter of a finish, as you've already pointed out. And then shortly after, at that point, you think, oh, well, we've seen Germany be clinical against Portugal. Is this going to be a repeat? Oh, no, Jack. Andre Ayew pops up with a header. A header! Neuer stranded.
It was
and
a
that
good
makes
header.
it 1-1.
It was a great ball in as well.
It was a great ball in. But they weren't done there, Jack.
They weren't. They were not done there.
Asamoah Gyan pops up.
His finish was really good. In the first half, he had one where he should have done better. First half, Gyan had a chance, and you expect him to. He kind of he pulled out, basically. Neuer was closing down, and he pulls out, and he kind of drags it out for a goal kick in the most. Like, he could have flicked over Neuer and fallen over and got a penalty. And instead, it was one of these ones where the keeper's charged at him, and he kind of goes, oh, just sticks a toe in and kicks it out.
Yeah, at 2-1, I'm thinking so many things. I'm thinking, this is the Ghana I expected in the first game against the Americans. And then I'm thinking, they could see their way through. And I'm also thinking, at the same time, while all this is going on, I'm thinking, Germany were the most convincing side in this World Cup, aside from probably France. And all of a sudden, 2-1 down to Ghana, you're wondering if they're going to make it out of the group. Like, I was genuinely thinking, okay, this isn't over. Like, Germany have got to play America, who can be a very stern, athletic, resilient side. Yeah, exactly. And I was Do you know what? I wasn't nervous for Germany because I've got no affiliation, but I was wondering what was going to happen, and then they brought closer on.
Yeah, and he scores, doesn't he? After I think it was 112 seconds with him coming on, he scores a header in closer fashion.
Yeah, it was Solskjaer-esque in the Champions League final of '99. Howardez was the Sheringham, and Solskjaer wins it, as they say, and that was a very similar thing that Closer did. I thought. Can you see the parallels?
I can. I must admit, in this game, I was really impressed by the tempo the game was played at. We mentioned how end-to-end it was. I don't know what the temperature was in the stadium, but apparently it's the hottest it's been so far this World Cup.
Yeah.
Like yesterday for this game. And both teams really made a spectacle of it. I do kind of wonder, for Germany, given the prolificness of kind of teams who are playing very fast counter-attacking football, if they might get caught out in the early knockout rounds, if they would come up against a Colombia... Because they looked very exposed. They played a very high line. I know it's mentioned in commentary a lot, but their right back and left back, very disciplined. They really stuck as a back four, but they continued to push quite high up. And they just looked a little bit slow at the back. And I think it was...
It's interesting you say that, Jack, because if we revert our minds back to the Champions League semi-final, which was Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich, a similar thing happened there.
I mean, I just look at Mertesacker and I think Emenike can outspeed Svakic. You're screwed, son. Drop your line by 20 yards and you might stand a chance. But that does kind of... I feel like that could be an undoing point for Germany. We talked about yesterday teams who... I don't want to say looked unbeatable, but teams who have really impressed us. And we kind of touched upon France and Germany, and I kind of mentioned Germany have won one game against Portugal, who were down a man. And I think this kind of game might... I want to say rally the troops and inspire other teams who have the ability to play like this, really to set up like this against them, because no disrespect to Ghana, but you don't put them into the same category as Germany in terms of potential World Cup winners.
No, it's interesting that every team that you see and you think, they could win this, have a little bit of a moment. The Dutch have had a little bit of a moment. France, although being 5-0 up, all of a sudden just conceded 2 goals out of nowhere, still looking very convincing. And now Germany have done it. We shouldn't gloss over Closer, though. 15 goals at World Cup finals. Incredible. Matches the record stood by the good Ronaldo. I refuse to call him the fat Ronaldo. Brazilian Ronaldo or the good Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Whatever you like. Wow, over 4 World Cups it's taken him to do it, but he has done it. Will he break it, though? That's the question, Jack.
Well, yeah, I think he has a chance. I mean, he is also the third player ever to score in 4 different World Cups, so he's also matched that record with players like Pele, also thrown in the mix there. Yeah, and so Jayan, on the African goal scoring front, equalled the most goals scored by an African player at World Cups.
Well, I never. Well, in respect of Closer, I decided I would take over the puns and include it in Twitter's question of the day.
Oh, excellent.
So, do you want to go first with this question, or do you want to save your
answer? I'd love to know what the question is.
Okay, well, the question was, folks at home, it's too late now, because we've already asked it. But Miroslav Klose has equalled the record of Ronaldo at this World Cup with 15 goals. Which footballer even, would you like to be closer with, and why? Or closer to?
That's a great question.
Thank you very much. Some people were like, they refused to answer because of the question quality.
There were probably a few people who just didn't get the pun, where English isn't their first language. It's like, why would I want to be close with someone?
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Well, do you want to go now, or do you want me to read a few out?
Read a few out. Let me get my thinking cap on.
All right, so Jamie and Joe both went for Daniel Sturridge so they could teach him how to dance. You know? Fair play.
Is that so they could teach him how to dance, or so he could teach them how to dance?
So they could be taught by Daniel Sturridge.
I'd be teaching him, if anything.
Someone else said Scholes, because he's the most technically gifted Englishman of all time. Not sure what he'd bring to the table as a friendship, but, you know, whatever. A couple of people said Mark Viduka. I think that's your fault.
Sorry.
Sam said Balotelli as a personal bodyguard. I could see that. But I could imagine Balotelli would be the sort of bodyguard who would be really interested for 20 minutes and then just be chatting to women for the rest of your night out.
Balotelli sounds like I imagine him being the kind of babysitter, slightly different to a bodyguard, but he's the babysitter. You leave with your kids and you come back at the end of the night out, and he's juggling knives. He's taught the kids how to juggle knives. Yeah. And he's done a bit of fire breathing with them. Exactly. Yeah. Just not very responsible.
Danny said Andre Pirlo, just so he can appreciate the great pass of the ball and his wine as well. He threw his wine in there, which I'm all for. The Twitter account at A Yard Out said Brazilian Ronaldo for the incredible skills and shot mixed with my height. I think that means his height, not my actual height. 6'3", and Robin's pace. So he's creating a footballer there. Not even an actual footballer.
There is nothing wrong with that.
So another player that's called Joe Snoggins. It said Roger Johnson just drinking. That'd be that.
That'd be a great night out.
Yeah, it would. You know how that ends. Money everywhere. Someone else said Messi so he could brag about being mates with him because he's the best player in the world. To which you responded very sarcastically on Twitter, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, you did. So that was it. That was the question of the day.
I know my answer actually.
What's your answer?
Fred, you do. I feel like me and him, we had a lot of potential in our prime, and we'd have a lot to discuss about in terms of footballing matters.
So you could look back and be like, "Oh, where did it all go wrong for us?"
I'd be sat there arm round and going, "I remember when I was a -10 potential in Football Manager. I made the database myself, but me and you were there."
I never answered the question. Can I answer the question?
You can. You have the right to answer the question. I think.
I'd like to be David Beckham just so he can hold me.
You'd like to be David Beckham, or you'd like to be
next to him. I'd like to be with him.
I'd say if you would like to be David
just
Beckham,
so he can make me feel safe. Just so he can.
Well, this has got very deep all of a sudden. Should we move
on?
I
just want to be loved, Jack.
Should we move on to today's games?
Oh, I guess.
You sound so upset now. I don't know if we can continue.
You start.
All right, so first game of today, Portugal v USA, and a little fact.
David Beckham lives in America.
A little factoid that I didn't get in about the Iran game is the fact that Iran are the first team to concede a World Cup goal against both Messi and Ronaldo ever. So really? Iran, you're in the history books for that. Anyway, Portugal v the USA. How do you see this one going?
Well, Ronaldo, despite having all this injury drama, is set to start. Whereas the USA, without their big dog, Josie Altidore misses out, so Aaron Johansson, who came on for them in the last game, will deputise. And Clint Dempsey, who broke his nose. It turns out he did actually break his nose.
Did he actually break? Because I watched that and I was like, that's a broken nose. And then he comes back on, I'm like, bloody hell.
He comes on and they're like poking it and sticking tissue up it, and I'm like, oh, it must be alright then, because why is he carrying on?
Well, the thing is, like, the physio does his little nose checks and like pushes it. It's like, oh,
yeah.
I'm like,
imagine having a broken nose.
You've not done a very good job of that, have you, really?
Holding my nose. No, well, as we look over to Portugal, so this is the most bedraggled team news I think we've ever done. Bruno Alves is apparently a major doubt. I can imagine just because he's in Brazil, just carnival on that. Contral's tournament's over. Pepe, because he headbutted, sort of. Thomas Muller is suspended. Only for one game, though. So he's back to the
I was surprised about that because there was talk about a 3-match ban because it was violent conduct. I'm kind of, with this game, I can really see USA grabbing stuff. And we actually talked about how we never get the predictions right. And I actually jokingly said yesterday, we'll rank up a fight and it could be a really close game. I'll go with 4-0 Argentina. Yeah. So this time, I think the USA might edge this. I'm going to go with 3-2 USA for this one.
Really? I think it'll be 3-1 Portugal.
Ooh.
I think Portugal's team's really good. I just think they were really bad against Germany. Like, their midfield is really strong. Veloso, Montinho, Morelas, and then you've got Ronaldo, Nani, and whoever else they decide to play in that third position, if it's Almeida, if it's Varela, whoever it is. I actually think Portugal are way better than we give them credit.
It's kind of a bit odd, this game, because Portugal have lost half their defence, and the USA just don't have any strikers at this... Well, okay, is Dempsey a doubt, or is he going to be playing with a bust nose?
No, Dempsey will play.
Dempsey will play with a bust nose. So you got Dempsey, and then Altidore's out, so I guess it'll be Aaron Johansson who comes in.
Yeah, he's set to play.
It's kind of odd how... We're talking about Portugal lacking that defence. USA's attack force isn't anything to write home about. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I know Johansson had a really good season at club level, but I just don't put him in the same bracket. I'd love him to prove me wrong. As I said, USA to win 3-1 just because I never get it right, so I'm going to go with my non-sarcastic gut. But yeah, that is going to be that's the game to watch, I think, today. Although the next game,
I don't agree.
The next game may well be up there as well. Belgium v Russia, Putin's boys.
Putin's boys. He's not the manager. It's Capello.
He is. He's like the godfather of the Russian football team, Putin. He sits there at his little Russian palace and he has a Subbuteo table in front of him and he positions his players where he wants them to play. They all have little name levels.
Allegedly.
We don't have to say allegedly, it's true.
It's not true. But Belgium captain Vincent Kompany is being undergoing treatment on a groin strain that he suffered against Algeria. But Wilmots has said that he'll be fine and he'll play. The same goes for Hazard, who apparently had a bad toe. Bless him.
A bad toe?
Yeah. And whereas Russia, we mentioned this after the Russia game, I think I in fact gave you my down low knowledge thanks to James Appel on Twitter, who said that Zagoev, Denisov, and Kerzhakov are likely to all start after coming off the bench even in their last game against South Korea. So Russia will look a little bit different. They will be a lot better than they were in the first game.
Do you think they'll play two up top? Because one of my gripes this World Cup, bizarrely, I'm a big advocate, or was a big advocate of playing one up top. This World Cup has made me realise that the teams who are doing well have two strikers on the pitch. Even if they're not playing with two strictly up front, they're playing with two strikers somewhere. You look at Muller and Klose, made a difference. You look at Giroud and Benzema for France, made a difference.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping
Rooney and Sturridge made it. Oh.
No, Rooney's not a striker, but he's not anything really. He's like
Suarez. There's an example.
We talked about yesterday Muller being the player who can play everywhere and play like there quite well, but he's a good footballer more than anything. Rooney just can't play. What is Rooney's position?
I think he's brilliant, and I think Manchester United are lucky to have him, and he's probably going to be the future England captain. So I've got nothing negative to say about Wayne Rooney today.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah,
you've changed your tune. Every episode we go back to Rooney.
For next year.
Everyone watching this thought, okay, so England are out. Does that mean the Rooney battering is gone? I was thinking about the right word to come out with then. Battering isn't the right word at all. But
it's fine.
No, it's not going to stop. Sorry.
That's another game, yeah. So where do you see it going, Belgium-Russia?
Belgium puzzled me in their first game. They were a little bit underwhelming, and you look at their results this season, and I'm a little bit kind of worried for them. I'm actually going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Okay, I think it'd be interesting if Lukaku starts. Obviously, Belgium got a lot better when he came off last week, so you never know. I will say it'll be a high-scoring win for Belgium, like a 3-2, 4-2. I can see it being quite an open game this time around. I think Pele will let loose a little bit. He used to do that with England. He'd get his first game out of the way, and then he'd go a little bit gung-ho. And I think even against Belgium, he may well do that with Zagoev and Kerzhakov starting. Speaking
about gung-ho, let's talk about Hong Yong-bo's team. South Korea and Algeria meeting in today's game. That was great poetry. That was poetry and motion.
That is appalling.
I'm sorry. That doesn't even constitute a pun. That's just terrible rhyming.
A lot of South Korean players are under pressure, apparently, as is the boss, if you believe what you read. I would read them all out, but I don't want to just get it wrong. So what I will say is that 3 players are one booking away from suspension, and Park Chu-young, and then I can actually say, will probably be dropped for Lee Kung-ho or Kim Shin-wook. Actually, I did quite well there. I'm
impressed.
Thank you. So expect to see some changes in the South Korean side. South Korea, if I'm not wrong, drew with Russia 1-1. Yeah, they did.
You're testing me now.
Oh, they did.
Feels like a lifetime ago. This World Cup's gone. I don't want to say it's gone slowly, but when you're watching kind of 4.5 hours of football a day,
it's only day 11.
I'm thinking by the end of the World Cup, I was thinking about this. We should get one of those World Cup prediction charts up on the podcast, on the video version, and we should have to try and remember every single result and see how many we got right.
Okay, well, I'll let you sort that out. Algeria are probably going to select the same 11 that played.
Yeah.
Do you know what the nickname for Algeria is? It's up there with the Super Eagles.
The Desert Foxes, isn't it?
Yeah.
See,
you just read that, haven't you?
Yeah. I feel like every World Cup team should get given a Pro Evolution Soccer name. You could have the Desert Foxes, the Eagles.
We're the 3 Lions. I actually don't mind that.
Yeah, I feel like we should give every country a Pro Evolution Soccer name, but we'll call Russia Putin's boys.
So from now on, we're gonna just begin to. Okay, what are we gonna call South Korea? I don't know what I've asked you.
StarCraft.
Oh, StarCraft.
That was quite a good effort. No, if you don't know what StarCraft is, it's like it's a video game.
Let me deal with this. It's a game which is immensely popular in South Korea. It's not in any way fascist or horrible. So Algeria are the Desert Foxes against StarCraft. What a battle that's going to be. As I say, British-based pair Bentaleb and Mahrez even are expected to be part of the Desert Foxes team for today. How do you see it going? They're quite evenly matched, I think, so it should be quite a good game.
See, I've been a big advocate of the Asian teams, but Japan have let me down, so I'm going to go with Algeria 2-0 on that token alone. I'm not even looking at the South Korea team.
Brutal. Absolutely.
I've changed.
You have changed. I will just agree with you, because I never do that. I think it'll be 2-0 as well. So, into the question, well, not really question of the day, but we did score predictions yesterday, Jack. And a lot of people took part on YouTube, I saw. So thank you for taking part. None of you won, because Argentina only won 1-0, and that screwed a lot of you. And Germany didn't win either.
I've got to be honest, I got an email through on my phone. It's like, someone's predicted 1-0 and 2-2. And no his comment was made 10 minutes ago.
Oh, those swans.
And at the end of his comment just says, I'll get to the third one after the match.
All right, very good, very clever. But we're rolling over, Jack. So what I'm going to do...
Wait, does that mean there's 3 prizes to win?
Well, kind of, yeah, hang on. Right, so the situation we have is that so far, Adrian Chargers' Too Good, Too Bad, the World Cup Goals, Gaffs and Glory is available like as a choice if you win.
Oh, so it's like a tombola.
Kickoff 2006. Yeah, they will get, that's like a raffle. So they get to pick their prize. Because no one got it right, we're going to add a third choice.
My word, we are
into the equation, right? So this time you're going to pick the number again. It's between 1 and 8.
Okay, can I have number 3, please?
Yes, you can.
What, you sound very excited, as if I've made a good choice.
Excited.
There are no bad choices in this.
It's not in fantastic condition. I'm not saying it's second hand, but it's second hand
condition.
Yeah, it's Goal, The Impossible Dream.
I love that film. I watched that on Netflix the other day, and then
it's Goal 1.
I watched the second one as well.
So like that's the proof.
That's a
Goal 1.
That's the sound of the goal.
So what we want you to do is predict the scores for the 3 games today. You have until half time of the first game. That's how lenient we are with this.
So of course,
that's the chance we're giving.
Today's games are Portugal, USA, Belgium, Russia, South Korea, Algeria. Get them down in the comments if you're on iTunes listening in. Tweet them at us at ForTheFans Show. We do appreciate it. Noticed a lot of people who we haven't seen on our Twitter account tweeting us yesterday, letting us know that they had watched all the way to the end of last show, which is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, we'll do the same thing today. Why not?
Yeah. So if you've watched all today's show, type in StarCraft. Tweet us StarCraft.
All right. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
For the Fan Show, StarCraft. Let's do that. This is how we do it. This is quality journalism. This is what what the BBC do at the end of all their World Cup shows, but no one actually knows it because they've all turned off.
Jack, I've got a query though. What is our Twitter account?
At For The Fan Show. And of course, if you're watching on iTunes, you can catch us on YouTube, For The Fan Show. If you're watching on YouTube, you can catch us on iTunes. You have to use the search feature for that one. It's a little bit of a pain. Yeah. Or there's a link down in the description of the YouTube video.
The advantage of the iTunes is that it's uploaded slightly earlier.
You get it about an hour earlier. So if you're one of these people who thinks, 3 o'clock, I've only got 2 hours to watch it before the first game of the day, you can get it at 2 o'clock.
Indeed.
Or there or thereabouts.
Indeed. That brings us to the end of today's show. We'll have a guest tomorrow, won't we?
We will. We will.
Good. Right.
I hope.
So we'll see you
Unless
tomorrow.
They're ill.
Yeah, we'll find out what their mental health is like. So from me, Ben.
And me, Jack.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.